Noah came off his bike as he entered North Belfast, but how bad a fall is disputed.
As CCTV fails in that area, witnesses have become the eyes for the inquest.
I was in court.
This is the Noah Donohoe Inquest. Hello, Tara Mills.
Hello, Declan Harvey.
Tell me about Sinead Quinn then. Eyewitness and the second person to see Noah after he has come off his bike in North Belfast.
Yeah, it's probably worth setting the scene here. So Noah, we know, had fallen off his bike in North Queen Street, just near the junction with York Road. And there were 3 cars, quite visible on CCTV footage from various different angles, who were in the area at the time. At the end of yesterday's hearing, we had Donna Blaine, one of the drivers, who told us what she saw. Then this morning we had Sinead Quinn, who was one of the other drivers, telling us what she saw.
And you say fallen off his bike. There's no sense that he was pushed and delivered in court, or no story like that.
No, and I mean, that's the point. You're watching the CCTV footage, which is actually quite difficult because it's through 2 sets of railings around a derelict site of the old Grove Baths, but you can see somebody fall off their bike, but there's nobody else there. There are no other cars apart from these 3 cars. So Sinead Quinn, the driver of the silver car that Donna Blaine was talking about yesterday, she joined the hearing remotely. The jury weren't told where she was joining from, only that they were thankful that she had joined because she's in a different time zone, so clearly she's now abroad. She said while she didn't see the boy fall off his bike, she saw him get off the ground quickly and get onto his bike again. And the jury was shown the CCTV footage of her car driving into North Queen Street. As she was turning into the junction, she pulled over when she saw that the boy had forgotten his coat, that it was on the ground. So she tooted her horn. She tooted the horn of her car at him. And the boy then was said to look back at her, and Sinead Quinn said he looked startled. But he turned away again, leaving the coat lying on the ground and cycling on. She said she was in the car with her brother and sister. They'd been shopping for Father's Day presents because the 21st of June was Father's Day that year. And she knew then that it was around 6 o'clock because they had been among the last to leave Lidl and Asda. And that's how she could be so accurate about the time she was driving. She said she called the police the following evening on the 22nd of June once she saw some social media coverage of the missing boy, because she immediately thought, oh, that's the boy that I saw on his bike. So in answer to questions from Brenda Campbell KC, who, as we know, is representing Noah's mum Fiona, she said Sinead Quinn was the first eyewitness to call the police about the incident on the bike at the junction. She's the first one to tell the police what she saw, and she said she had possible relevant and important information. And Brenda Campbell said to Sinead Quinn, you phoned the police straight away. Brenda Campbell then raises a press release that the PSNI put out on the 24th of June. That's the Wednesday.
3 days after.
3 days afterwards. And it's citing an eyewitness who had contacted the police to say Noah may have sustained a head injury after falling off his bike. Ms Campbell asked Sinead Quinn if that could have been her. And she said she didn't think so because all she could say for certain was that she had seen him getting on his bike, but she hadn't seen him fall, so she wouldn't have been able to tell whether he'd had a head injury or not. So Brenda Campbell then asked Sinead Quinn if she'd had any contact with the police between the times that she had contacted them at the end of June that week and when they took her statement in the following May 2021. And Ms Quinn ended her evidence by saying, no, there has been no other contact in the intervening 10 months.
OK. Next, Nathan Montgomery, who, as I understand it, was getting a takeaway on North Queen Street. He also sees Noah.
Yeah, so he was going to collect a Chinese takeaway from North Queen Street at tea time on the 21st of June. He passed a young man on a bike and thought nothing of it. But after collecting his food, when he was going back home, he said he saw the young man on the bike again. But this time, Mr Montgomery said the boy swayed a couple of times out from the curb into the centre of the lane. He said they weren't exaggerated movements, but suggested to him that really the cyclist was inexperienced and was perhaps unsteady on his bicycle. He said it caused him to be wary of passing him, more cautious than normal, and he slowed down to the same speed as Noah and gave him plenty of room as he drove past him. In fact, he said he waited for the lane of traffic in the other direction to be clear before even going round him. Again, we saw CCTV of Mr. Montgomery's car when it was parked outside the Chinese takeaway, and the jury was then shown a map outlining Noah's journey, and on the map, all around, right from home up to this point, there are clusters of yellow circles along this map. So there's a big red line showing the journey that Noah took, and then all these clusters at various points. And they're all CCTV cameras that the police have been able to gather footage
How
from.
many would you...
I'd say 35 plus.
Right,
There was a mention, because I think when I watched the compilation yesterday, I counted around mid-30s, and they talked about camera 35 and 36 today. So I'd say somewhere around that. But the court was told why Mr. Montgomery's evidence was important, because after this point in Noah's journey, there's a gap in the CCTV footage. So Brenda Campbell Casey, again acting for Noah's mum, told Mr. Montgomery, "You are our eyes for this, because there's a gap in the CCTV, and those gaps will be investigated later in the inquest." And she told Mr. Montgomery, "You were one of the last people to give us evidence about Noah before he disappeared."
Amanda Seenan was called today, also the next eyewitness. And it's interesting because she saw Noah and described it as a fairly bad fall off his bike.
Yeah, so this is back to that incident at the junction. It's slightly out of sequence, but this is the third driver. So we know about Donna Blaine, we know about Sinead Quinn, and now we have Amanda Seenan, the third driver of the cars, the
on
three
that
cars
junction.
at that junction, North Queen Street and York Road. So Amanda Seenan was driving a black car that also drove past when Noah fell. But unlike Sinead, Amanda did see Noah fall off the bike.
She's the only one.
She's the only
giving
one.
evidence so far.
So she said she'd taken her 1-year-old baby out for a drive on Sunday, the 21st of June, because she couldn't settle her, and she'd brought her son with her. She said she saw Noah fall off his bike and felt it was quite a bad fall. And a bit later in the evidence, she felt that he'd possibly fallen over the handlebars, had fallen forward. But he very quickly got up off the ground, brushed his leg, and quickly got on the bike again. Amanda Seenan asked her son, who was in the back seat of the car, to take off his seatbelt, turn round. She said, "Oh, a boy's just fallen off his bike, just check and see if he's okay." Her son said he's fine, and they drove on. But they too also saw the jacket on the ground. So in her statement, she said the same thing. She had seen the footage the next day of this missing boy, Noah Donohoe, had looked at the picture on Facebook and thought, "Oh, I must phone the police to tell them." So she phoned the police. So again, Amanda Seenan was also asked by Brenda Campbell Casey if she was the witness that had put forward this evidence of a head injury. This is a thread that Brenda Campbell had mentioned earlier, and she brought it up again with Amanda Seenan, and it's to do with that press release that the police had put out on the 24th of June, saying that Noah had possibly had a head injury after falling off his bike. So Amanda Seenan said she had several contacts with the police on the Monday and Tuesday, and that at no time did she say that Noah had a head injury. And she said when she saw the news about the head injury and the police appeal, she said she was a bit baffled by this and a bit miffed. She said she'd got herself quite worked up about it, and said she wasn't aware if she was the only person who had spoken to the police about him falling off his bike. So she was worried that the police had taken her evidence and made this public appeal. So Brenda Campbell asked, "What came out in the news was not consistent with what you said to the police?" And Amanda Seenan said, "No, it wasn't consistent with what she had said." So Ms. Seenan said she asked the constable who came to interview her if it was evidence. So the police then called, and she said, "Look, I'm quite worked up about this. I'm miffed about this. Was my evidence what you've used for this?" And the police constable said, no, it's just a theory. She didn't say it was Amanda Seenan's theory. So Brenda Campbell again asked, "So you had no reason to believe Noah had a head injury?" And Amanda Seenan again said no. Then Brenda Campbell Casey quoted a senior investigating officer who's quoted as saying his theory about Noah's head injury is based on the evidence of Amanda Seenan, who said she saw Noah crash his bike and sustain a head injury. And Amanda Seenan said she could not accept that theory, and she was annoyed the appeal said something that she didn't say, because she said, in fact, she didn't say he'd crashed his bike. She said he'd just fallen forward on his bike.
So Amanda Seenan saying this theory hasn't come from her, but the police notes clearly making the link to Amanda Seenan. Do we know whose notes they were. Was that said in court?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't said in court today, and presumably at some point further down the line, whenever the police give evidence, that this will be perhaps brought up.
And the young lad in the back with the seatbelt, who took it off to turn round, was also giving evidence?
Yes, he gave evidence briefly just after lunch, just after his mum had finished, and he was 11 at the time. So he's now 16, 17, given the sort of 5.5 years in between. And he really just clarified and concurred with what his mother had said, that he'd taken the seatbelt off, he'd moved over to the side passenger seat, he had looked out, and all he had seen was the coat on the ground and this boy getting up quickly from the ground and getting on his bike.
Okay. So that's all happening back at the junction of York Road and North Queen Street. And you've referenced this map that was shown with the red route that Noah followed. So if we move a little bit further up that red line, the York Road becomes the Shore Road, and we've spoken about that on previous episodes. And then Noah pulls off and heads into the Northwood area. It's a number of different streets, all called Northwood something. But we hear from a resident next who lives in Northwood Crescent.
Yes, Beryl Smith gave evidence just in the last hour of the inquest this afternoon. She said that on the Sunday she was sitting in the front room of her home reading a book and saw a young boy going past on a bike, past her front window, and just for a matter of seconds, but she says as he's going past, he's fiddling with his helmet strap, and she thought maybe he's going to take it off because it's too warm. At 6:10 then, as she was going to church, and the way she would go would be to turn right onto Northwood Road and right again onto the Shore Road to go to church. And as she comes out of her house, there's a lamppost and there's a helmet on the ground next to the lamppost. So that was Sunday evening. Then she says in her statement, in the early hours of Monday morning, she gets up around midnight, sees police in the street looking for something, and then the next morning she sees on the news about Noah Donohoe's being missing, and then she was interviewed by police going house to house. Now, as part of the evidence, it's clarified really. Donal Lunny Casey, who's acting for the police, said it was actually the Monday evening that the police were there. They weren't all there from Sunday into Monday, and Beryl Smith accepted that she must have got confused, and it was Monday into Tuesday that the police were there when she got up in the middle of the night, and then officers came to see her on the Wednesday to do door-to-door inquiries.
Okay, but either way, in the days after that, she was speaking to police officers.
Yeah, and she also said that in the 29 years she's lived there, very close to Linear Park, where the storm drain, where Noah was found, she was asked, did you know it was even called Linear Park? She said no. Did you know there was a stream or a storm drain there? She said no. And then she was asked if the Department for Infrastructure, another one of the interested parties in the inquest, had they told her that work was happening at the storm drain as a local resident. She said no.
And again, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but for those who aren't familiar or who haven't seen the map that you've seen, we are very near the end of Noah's journey. We are a matter of 100 metres. So Beryl Smith lives very close to the culvert.
Yes, and it's interesting, one thing she added into her evidence today was that she was interviewed by the BBC and told the story of the helmet and finding the helmet. It was broadcast on the 21st of August in 2020, and 6 days later then the police came to take a statement from her.
Okay. This has felt, as a day's evidence, moving at a much quicker pace than maybe we've been used to over the last 6 days or so, because there was one more witness before the end of play.
Yes, that's Krzysztof Kosakevich, and on the 21st of June he was driving to see a friend who lives in Northwood Road, and he notices as he's going to the top of the road and sees a boy standing by the side of the road, and he remembers it because the boy wasn't wearing a top. He said he couldn't see the bottom half because of the parked cars. But as we know from the evidence yesterday and from the evidence that we've known up until this point, that by the time Noah got to close to the storm drain, he wasn't wearing any clothes. Okay.
And Northwood Road links on to Northwood Crescent, where Beryl was, so we're only a matter of 100 metres or so. This is a small area we're now focusing on again. Okay, so that has really tracked that bit of the map, as it were. We should say that you can follow all the evidence as it emerges through every day of the hearing. You can follow us on BBC Sounds or any of the podcast platforms.
Yes, and obviously you can watch, if you are already, on the BBC News NI YouTube channel.
The hearings are Monday to Thursday, and our promise to you is that we will bring you all the updates, all the facts as they emerge every day that we can. And slowly this story will be built day by day. But for today, this Tuesday, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks.